Welcome to the original tale of love, temptation, and forbidden fruit. Today, we're diving into the scandalous story of Adam and Eve and their close encounter with the evil serpent. So sit back and get ready to feel holier than thou as we explore this biblical epic. But before we start, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll never miss a video. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He then decided to create the first humans, Adam and Eve, to keep him company in paradise. Adam was created from the dust of the earth, and Eve was created from one of Adam's ribs. At first, everything was perfect. The Bible describes the Garden of Eden as a beautiful and lush paradise. The garden was said to be located in the east and was filled with all kinds of trees that were pleasing to the eye and good for food. Among the trees in the garden were the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil bore the forbidden fruit that God had warned Adam and Eve not to eat. The forbidden fruit is often depicted as an apple in artwork and popular culture. In addition to the trees, the garden was also said to have a river that flowed through it and watered the plants. The river was said to split into 4 separate rivers, including the Euphrates and Tigris, which are still known to exist today. The garden was also said to be home to all kinds of animals like birds and other creatures, which Adam named and cared for. Adam and Eve were naked but unashamed, and lived in perfect harmony with each other and with God. They spent their days lounging in the sun, frolicking with the animals, and enjoying the fruits of the garden. But one day when Eve was walking alone through the garden, a serpent slithered up to Eve and began to tempt her. The Bible doesn't give many details about the serpent's origin, but it is often interpreted as a representation of the devil. In the Bible, the serpent is described as more cunning than any of the wild animals. The serpent asked Eve a seemingly innocent question. Did God really say that you must not eat from any tree in the garden? When Eve replies that they can eat from any tree except the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the serpent responds by telling her that God knows that they will become like God if they eat it. It's interesting to mention that in the Bible the serpent is not depicted as a literal snake, but as a crafty and intelligent creature that is capable of speech. This has led to much speculation and debate about what the serpent actually was. Some scholars believe that the serpent in the story was likely a type of snake, as snakes were commonly associated with deception and trickery in the ancient Near East. In artistic depictions of the story, the serpent is often shown as a long, slender snake with a forked tongue and bright, piercing eyes. Some artists have also portrayed the serpent as having legs or wings, perhaps drawing inspiration from other mythological creatures or dragons. However, it's important to note that these artistic depictions are not necessarily accurate to the biblical story, as the text itself does not provide any specific physical details about the serpent. Rather, the serpent is primarily portrayed as a cunning and deceitful creature who uses its words to convince Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. Some interpret the story metaphorically, seeing the serpent as a symbol of temptation or the human tendency to stray from God's will. In popular culture, the serpent has become a symbol of deception and temptation, often depicted as a sly and sneaky creature. Despite its negative role in the story of Adam and Eve, the serpent has also been interpreted as a symbol of healing and wisdom in some cultures. Eve was hesitant at first, but the serpent was very persuasive. Finally, Eve couldn't resist the serpent's temptation any longer. She plucked a fruit from the forbidden tree and took a bite. It was like nothing she had ever tasted before. She immediately ran to Adam and shared the fruit with him, and he too took a bite. Suddenly, they felt a strange sensation in their bodies, and for the first time, they were ashamed of their nakedness. God soon discovered their disobedience and confronted them. He told them, "You have eaten from the one tree that I told you not to eat, and now you must suffer the consequences." Adam and Eve tried to explain themselves, but it was too late. God showed them no mercy and punished them. Adam would have to toil in the fields and labor for his food, and Eve would experience the pain of childbirth. God also banished them from the Garden of Eden, forcing them to fend for themselves in the outside world. But despite their punishment, Adam and Eve knew that they had made a mistake, and they sought to make amends. From that day forward, they dedicated themselves to a life of repentance, asking God for forgiveness and striving to live according to His laws. And although they had lost paradise, They had gained the knowledge of good and evil, and the ability to choose between them. So there you have it, the story of Adam and Eve and the forbidden fruit. Just say no to temptation because you never know the kind of trouble it might get you into. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell, or you might just end up like Adam and Eve, missing out on all the fun. Who knows, maybe even the serpent will drop by and offer you some wisdom or a tempting piece of fruit. Thanks for watching, and until the next one.